One of the biggest fears people have about GLP-1 maintenance is this. What happens when real life happens? Not a perfect week, no meal prepping, no tracking, no planned exercise, just real life. Well, I just spent 6 weeks stress testing that question across 7,500 miles, a wedding, multiple RV breakdowns, and way too much fast food. And now I finally have an answer. Hi, I'm Carrie, and I am a 54-year-old nurse practitioner, and I have been on Tirzepatide for over a year now. I have lost more than 50 pounds on this GLP-1 medication and over 110 pounds from my highest weight ever. I am in maintenance now, and this channel is where I talk about what that actually looks like. The clinical side, the real life side, and everything in between. This is NP on a GLP. And just a quick disclaimer before we go any further, I am a nurse practitioner, but nothing in this video is personalized medical advice. Your situation is your own, and any changes to your medication, dose, or dosing schedule should be made in partnership with your own healthcare provider. Okay, first off, I owe you an apology. I have been MIA for a few weeks now, and I need to acknowledge that. When we left on this trip, I had every intention of keeping up with the content. But once we got to Orlando for my daughter's wedding, and then the mad dash back all the way across the country, and then a week at the Washington coast with my family, well, it just wasn't possible. That hectic pace of it all meant that sitting down to put together a thoughtful video just wasn't happening. So I am sorry if you were here waiting on me. I am back now, and I have a lot to catch you up on. Let me tell you a little bit about this trip, because this was not just a road trip. This was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of journey. At least I hope we never have to do it this quick again. My husband, Jeff, and I, we drove from Washington State to Orlando, Florida, and back, pulling our travel trailer the whole way. Total, we drove probably 7,500 miles, and we were boondocking as much as possible, which is camping without hookups. We were completely self-contained and cooking in the trailer, and that was the plan anyway. Our first big stop was Zion National Park in southern Utah, and I've got to say, nothing prepares you for Zion. Those canyon walls are just enormous. The red rock, the scale of it, the way the light hits it at different times of the day. You know, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest where everything is green and lush and vertical and wet. And this was just a completely different kind of dramatic. We hiked what we could. Jeff is actually a disabled vet, so we took it slow. And I just kept stopping just to stare. And then we got on our e-bikes. And seriously, that is the way to see Zion. I could have stayed a week. So beautiful. From there, we went next to Bryce Canyon, which is only about an hour and a half from Zion National Park, but it feels like a completely different planet. Bryce is famous for its hoodoos, those tall, thin spires of rock that look like they shouldn't be able to exist. And standing at the rim, looking down into that amphitheater of orange and red and white formations, it was absolutely surreal. Like someone had built a cathedral out of the geology, and I was just not prepared for how otherworldly it would feel. Then we went to Mesa Verde in Colorado, you know, the cliff dwellings, right? This one was especially cool because Jeff's degree is actually in anthropology, so I had my very own expert right there with me. This place is from an entire civilization that built their homes into the sides of the cliffs, hundreds of feet above the canyon floor, around 700 years ago. You stand there just trying to imagine the daily life of these people carrying water and food up those handholds carved into the rock face. And it kind of puts your own inconveniences into a perspective pretty quickly. That was also where Jeff backed the trailer into a tree branch pulling out of camp, which in the grand scheme of Mesa Verde was appropriately humbling. The Grand Canyon was our next stop. And that was my first time there. And I will just say, photographs do not do it justice. Nothing does. You walk up to that rim and your brain just refuses to process the scale of it all at first. It looks fake. It looks like a painting, frankly. I have seen it in pictures 1,000 times, and I was still not ready for the actual thing. We ended up in Grand Canyon longer than planned because that is where our tongue jack on the trailer broke, and we also had a pipe burst. So we ended up there for 5 days in the Grand Canyon instead of the 3 that we had actually planned. Honestly, though, this was not the worst problem to have once those repairs were sorted out. We were actually camped on Bureau of Land Management land less than 2 miles, well, about 2 miles from the park entrance. Completely free in the middle of the forest, not another soul around. We even saw wild horses near our campsite, so there are worse places to be stuck. We also went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and that was one I'd always wanted to see, and it did not disappoint. You walk down into the earth, literally descend into this massive, massive cave system, and the formations are just staggering. The stalactites and the stalagmites, chambers the size of football fields underground. It is cool and quiet and ancient in a way that makes you just feel very small and grateful all at the same time. It was a completely different kind of awe than the Grand Canyon, but it was awe nonetheless. And after that, we pointed ourselves toward Orlando for the main event, which was our daughter's wedding. And the wedding was absolutely beautiful and everything we hoped for. And we had such a great time seeing the kids and the family that lived down there. All right, so here's the honest version of what eating on this trip looked like, because I think it matters for our GLP-1 conversations. During the early part of the trip, the national park stretch, I was actually doing pretty well. We were cooking in the trailer pretty much every meal. I had stocked it with protein and low carb options and foods that I know work for me. And actually, when we were boondocked in the middle of nowhere, there was no fast food to be tempted by. The environment actually kind of helped. But as the trip went on, the cooking got harder and harder, and we had breakdowns that added stress, and the driving days got longer. By the time we were pushing through the deep south toward Florida and then doing the marathon drive back home, we were eating in the truck, stopping only long enough to sleep, and that's kind of where my neural completely fell apart. Frankly, Orlando was tough. It was wedding week. It was over 90 degrees every single day. Our kids wanted to go out to eat a lot. We had celebration dinners and cake and food I haven't eaten in over a year. Food I wouldn't normally choose to eat in my regular life, but I'm okay with that because it was my daughter's wedding. And I was not going to spend that entire week mentally logging every macro and every calorie. Just wasn't going to do it. I was going to eat the cake, and eat the cake I did. But I didn't just eat the cake, and I felt it. Physically, by the end, especially that long drive home when we lived for 4 days on snacks and fast foods in the car, I felt physically gross in a way I haven't felt in a really long time. I felt sluggish, inflamed, and tired, and just wrong. My body has really changed in the past year and a half, and it knows the difference now between how I'm supposed to feed it and how I was feeding it on that last push home. That feedback was actually useful information, even though it kind of felt like punishment. Maybe it was both. Okay, so here's my weigh-in after 6 weeks on the road. Remember, I am 54 years old, at least for a few more days anyway. I am 5'7" tall. My starting weight on May 2nd, 2025, when I took my first dose of Tirzepatide, was 202.2 pounds, and I hit my goal weight of 147 pounds a few months ago. My maintenance window goal is 145 to 150 pounds, and that's the range I have committed to holding. When I stepped on the scale 3 days ago, when we first got back, well, the next morning, I weighed 148 pounds, 148 and 3/4 of a pound. Right in my window, not even barely, but comfortably. And I cannot describe for you the relief that I felt. I seriously thought I had gained. Given everything I just described, the fast food stretch, the wedding week, the weeks of not tracking, not weighing every day, I thought for sure I was going to see a number on the scale that was going to require some work to get back from. But I didn't. And I want to talk about why. My GLP-1, my Tirzepatide, was doing its job even when I wasn't doing mine. Even in an environment full of highly palatable food, even when I was stressed and exhausted and not making optimal choices, the appetite suppression, the reduced food noise, the way the medication changes your relationship with food at a physiological level, it was all still working underneath that chaos. I ate more than I would have at home. I ate things I wouldn't normally eat, but I didn't eat the way I would have eaten before this medication. The volume was still controlled in a way that simply wasn't before Tirzepatide came into my life. And that's the medication working. And I think it's worth saying out loud because a lot of people worry about what happens when real life takes over. They're afraid, and I was afraid, that a vacation or a stressful stretch or a celebration will just undo everything. And now I have a data point, 6 weeks of real life, including some really chaotic weeks, and I still maintained. But the scale held, and that actually matters to me. I also want to acknowledge something that doesn't get talked about enough in these GLP-1 conversations. Stress eating is still a thing on this medication. Or more accurately, stress wanting to eat is still a thing. When that tongue jack broke at the Grand Canyon and we were waiting 2 extra days for parts to arrive by mail, I noticed the pull toward junk food. When the pipe burst and we had to drive to Flagstaff for repairs, when something broke on the slide mechanism in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Jeff was troubleshooting in a Walmart parking lot, every one of those moments, I noticed the impulse to reach for comfort food. The difference now is that impulse is smaller and I have more space between the impulse and the action. And when I do give into that impulse, because sometimes I do, I'm satisfied and done with it sooner than I was before I was on Tirzepatide. The medication doesn't eliminate emotional eating tendencies, but it turns down the volume enough that you can actually make a different choice. Most of the time anyway, not always, but most of the time. That distinction is important because I think some people start these medications expecting the emotional relationship with food to just disappear, and it doesn't. The biology part gets easier, but the psychology is still yours to work on, and mine. And I also want to be real about what coming home has looked like because it's been a lot. The lawn is nearly 2 feet tall. I wish I were exaggerating. I am not. My gardens are in absolute shambles. The house had that closed up smell that a day of airing out thankfully handled. The laundry situation is exactly what you would expect after 6 weeks on the road. And we have doctor's appointments stacking up for both Jeff and I. I have had zero energy to put together videos right now, and I want to be transparent about that because I think we sometimes hold ourselves to a standard of productivity that just isn't realistic when life gets completely chaotic. I am catching up. I'm getting back to normal, and I'm trying to be patient with myself in the process. But here's what I did not expect: coming home and really genuinely wanting bread and sugar. 6 weeks of eating differently has kind of rewired something inside of me, and not permanently, I know that, but right now my body is asking for carbs in a way it hasn't in a long time. And that is not the medication failing. That is what happens when you spend weeks reinforcing different habits. Those neural pathways get refreshed and you have to quiet them down again. So I'm going to be totally honest. I ate a perfectly lovely low carb lunch today. I ate until my stomach felt comfortably full, and then 10 minutes later, I grabbed a stack of crackers and I ate them too. Those were crackers my stomach didn't even want, but my brain did. I am back to trying to live my low carb lifestyle like before we left, and it's hard right now, and I'm not going to pretend it's not. The medication helps a lot, but it's not magic, and food noise doesn't disappear entirely, especially when you spent weeks feeding it. And this was something that I just wanted to be honest with you about because I think some people just expect the medication to make every food situation effortless. It doesn't. It reduces the noise significantly, but it does not eliminate the habits that you've reinforced over time. So I am going to be patient. I am cooking real food. We are having chicken and broccoli for dinner tonight. I am getting back to what I know works, but I'm sharing this because if you've come back from a vacation or just a stressful stretch and you're finding it harder than you expected to get back on track, that's real and it's normal. Okay, so I want to talk about what I actually changed with my medication because I made a couple of adjustments in the last few weeks during this trip. So I want to walk you through my thinking. I was on 6.5 milligrams of Tirzepatide, and 3 weeks ago I increased to 7 milligrams. Why? Because surrounded by all that highly palatable food constantly for weeks, I felt like I needed a little more support. The 6.5 milligrams was doing the job in my regular life, but this was not my regular life. And frankly, it's simply not uncommon to need something close to the dose you lost weight on in order to maintain. I hit my goal weight at 7.5 milligrams of Tirzepatide, so needing something closer to that in a challenging environment is really not surprising at all. Okay, now here's the other change I made, and this is more clinically interesting. I started splitting my dose into twice weekly instead of once weekly. Let me explain why and what that actually means in plain terms. When you take a GLP-1 like Tirzepatide or Semaglutide or retatrutide, any GLP that you're taking once a week, you get a peak, the highest concentration in your blood. That happens around 24 to 48 hours after your injection. And then the drug level gradually falls through the rest of the week, and eventually it reached its lowest point, called the trough, right before you take your next dose. It goes up, and then over the week it comes back down to its lowest point. Some people, when they hit that higher peak concentration, experience side effects. For me, when I was taking 7 milligrams once a week, that peak blood concentration was giving me recurrent headaches as a side effect. That was actually why I had come down from that 7.5 milligrams in the first place. I just wasn't happy with those headaches that I had at peak blood concentrations of my GLP-1. When you split that same weekly dose into 2 smaller doses, in my case, I take part of it on Monday now and the other part on Thursday, you're kind of smoothing out that curve. So the peak doesn't go as high, it's a little bit lower because each individual dose is smaller, and the trough is higher because you're dosing again before the drug level drops all the way down. Think of it as this, kind of instead of one tall wave crashing once a week, you get smaller, gentler waves, more like this. The medication is a little more consistently present in your system throughout the week without that sharp spike that was causing my headaches. So my prescriber and I discussed this together, and the hope was that I could tolerate 7 milligrams if we split it this way, even though I wasn't really tolerating it very well as one single weekly dose. And so far, no headaches. We are cautiously optimistic. I want to be really clear, this is not something to try on your own without talking to your provider. Splitting dosing, timing adjustments, dose changes, those all need to happen in coordination with whoever is prescribing your medication. I am sharing my personal experience because I think it's useful information. This is not a template to follow without professional guidance. All right, so what's next? Well, I am back and I am catching up. I have a lot of topics that I want to cover, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into the regular rhythm here. If there is something specific that you have been wondering about, a topic that you would like me to tackle, a question about maintenance or about navigating travel or about what real life on these medications actually looks like long term, drop it in the comments. I read them all. And if you're on this journey too, whether you're just starting or if you're in the middle of weight loss, or trying to figure out what maintenance actually looks like for you, I'd love to have you here. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And if this video helps you, a like goes a long way for this little channel. I'll see you on the next one. Take care and bye for now.